I get a rifle, I shoot 10 or 15 rounds at 100. I shoot 10 or 15 rounds at 900 or 1,000, and I'm done. I can go kill stuff with it.
Yeah. And you're not gentle. You're not gentle to things. It's like the 223 that I have, that when you set the parallax or the focus, reticle focus for Tanya, that thing has never been rezeroed, and it has at least 5,000 rounds on it. And you both can attest that it was still driving tacks all through the course. And I dropped it 2 more times.
Well, I mean, oh yeah, guys were shooting about 1 minute for 20 shot groups with it. And you got frustrated in a position and threw it.
Yeah.
All I look over and see is the rifle being launched like 4 feet in the air in front of the line.
Yeah, and then we went out to 450 and it banged 2 little.
And it was still zeroed.
Donald Trump here. We ran right over Nikki Haley. Sleepy Joe, wakey wakey. We're coming for you next. But I'm here to endorse the Shoot to Hunt podcast. It's the best. Just ask the people, look at the people, the beautiful peoples. Give it up for Jake, the bearded giant, and Ryan, the elk slayer.
We need a third name for Malicious. He's got to bring that in the intro, apparently. But talking all things barrel channels, we were just arguing before we started the podcast because Form's doing a review on Rock Slide with the Browning. I'm reading it last night and it's looking good. And then he's like, I had to open up the barrel channel. And he brings out his rusty pocket knife from 1940. It looks like he just had his fucking way with it.
Looks like a fucking woodchuck knot on that shit.
Fucking woodchuck, a beaver just fucking hammering on that thing. Do you want to defend yourself for him?
Yeah, I'm not gay. Open your barrel channels up.
Well, it goes to the bigger topic. We're talking about, we just went 3 days of kind of a modified shooting school, shoot to hunt shooting school, and a 3-day bear hunt. And there wasn't really any surprises. I'll let Form and Jake talk about their perspectives. But one thing that did happen is some of the barrel channels were too tight. So that was the talk before the podcast started. And we have different philosophies because the gunsmiths, Jake said they want to make it nice and pretty and make the customer happy because that's what the gun mags and that's what Grandpappy said he needed to see. And then on Form's side, he's saying this shit's contact and this shit is causing accuracy problems. So,
well, I mean, it's free floated when it leaves here, right? But free floated, we were talking about, I don't know how thick a fucking dollar bill is, but it's not very thick. And when you run your dollar bill test and make sure it's floated, there's still in-field use, you're putting pressure on the stock in various directions, and there's potential there for contact and throwing a flyer and whatnot. So we did have a 6 Creedmoor there at the class that was floated, was built correctly, was a beautiful rifle. However, during the Shoot to Hunt University, during different types of testing, we found that it was pitching one here and there, and probably because the contact was too close. So we're going to open it up a bit, but that's the general mentality across the industry, though. Is it needs to look pretty but be functional, which is free floated. So it is free floated. Mm-hmm. I just think that we need to change maybe the mentality there a little bit and increase that gap to allow for proper field use without contact.
Form, is there a certain, let's say, thousandths or measurement it needs to be in general?
No, because it depends on how flexible the stock is. Like this Browning that we were just arguing about, the fore end is, I won't say it's noodly, but it's not as stiff as, say, a factory Tika. So it needs a bunch. It needs more than 1/10 of an inch to make sure there's no contact. The Stocky's, Macmillan, Manners, they need about 1/10 of an inch. I mean, you can go with less, right? But when you go with less, the other thing to think about is like, oh, my dollar bill fits. You got to think it only takes a single pine needle to cause contact at that point.
Okay, for the guy that's not
blade of grass.
So the guy that's watching, can't watch this audio version. So what are you talking about? What has happened where Jake said you might pitch a few while you're in your group? What's going on? Can you talk us through it?
So the fore end, the stock has flex. All of them have flex. Macmillan, Manners, Stocky's, Altera, everybody has some amount of flex. Even aluminum fore ends have some amount of flex, right? And so when you're looking at your barrel channel and there's this thin gap, so you run your dollar bill from the barrel, the fore end tip to the action, and it doesn't touch. The issue is the moment you lay the rifle down, that fore end flexed a little bit. And a lot of these guns, if you just lay the rifle or put it on a bipod, you'll see that just the weight of the gun makes the dollar bill get sticky, which means you've got contact, right? And as soon as we start shooting alternate positions, you're moving some of these fore ends a lot, over 1/10 of an inch, right? By grabbing the fore end, you're trying to pinch it to hold it to the pack, or the worst uh, version of this is when you put a bipod on it and you torque the bipod trying to get it on target, like to pan it on target, and that just flexes the fore end and touches the barrel. And then when that happens, any touch on the barrel creates a diversion from like neutral state of the barrel. So your point of impact shifts. So you get, we had one of the 223s was like, oh, it would shoot really good groups, and then it would shoot like 2¼ inches. And it's all horizontal, left to right. And what I noticed is when I got down and I really paid attention to just know everything perfect on a flat bag, it shot good groups. The moment I was, say, 3 inches off the aiming point at 100 yards and I torqued it to pull it to the aiming point, the group would open up to 2 inches left to right. And when you looked at that fore end, it was, I don't even know, a dollar bill would maybe have fit through it. But all you're getting is a little bit of pressure on the fore end, intermittently contacting the barrel.
So, shoot to hunt, unknown munitions, rockside. We're about solutions. There's a plethora of barrel channels and barrels. What's the solution?
I mean, throw a dead cat through the gap. That's the solution.
Well, I do know that I
know,
will add this in there. The two my 223, your 23 had 0 issues. But they're also
Well, that's it, yeah, and on a whole bunch of reasons why. But when I do it with the stocks, I want about a Sendero contour with a T3 light barrel.
So you're having
I want a no kidding, at least 1/10 of an inch, and I'm looking at more like,
he wants to be able
fifth
to
of an
he
inch.
wants to be able to stroke the barrel without hitting the stock, basically.
That's right.
there's like a couple 100,000
so I
gap
had
all the way around it.
What's that?
So there's about a couple 100,000 gap all the way around.
We said
it.
1/10 of an inch, 100 thou. I just looked up right now the
100 thou,
thickness.
yeah,
So the standard thickness of a dollar bill, I said 0.009 is 0.004.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're talking about 4,000s, and he wants 100,000s. That's the difference we're talking about here. It's a huge difference.
So 20 times bigger almost.
So,
yeah,
25 to be exact, baby.
25 times bigger.
Yes.
So I had a teak in a chassis and had a heavy barrel, and the chassis was good, but it was probably a 1/16 of an inch clearance. And this was set 4 or 5 years ago, and we were evaling a scope, and I thought the scope shifted. Actually, there was another rock slider there. It was about 0.4 mil high, and we were already 1,500 rounds into this thing. I'm like, what the freak, right? So I adjust the turret. I'm all upset because I really like the scope. One of the few times I get like emotionally invested, and we go through the whole thing. Later in the day, I tip the gun over and I notice stuff falls out. And so I peel the barrel apart to look, and there's like 2 pine needles that has gotten wedged under the barrel. You couldn't see it unless you like look down the barrel channel in the chassis. So I got the knife and, I did what you don't like. I fished it out with the blade of my knife and all that, and it dropped 0.4 mils. And it's like, I was telling the guy, I was like, this is what I'm talking about, man. Like either no gap whatsoever, so hard bedded, which you can fully bed a rifle barrel with a really stiff stock, like a Stocky's or a Macmillan or Manners. You can fully neutral bed a rifle barrel, so there's no gap. Don't use the bipod, but otherwise you're probably okay, and they'll shoot really good. Either no gap whatsoever, or make it so big that everything falls through, and nothing can get caught. And like, for a variety of reasons, yeah, our guns they showed up 0, they stay 0 as they have for the last 10,000 rounds, and 0 issues with contact or alternate positions or torque or any of that nonsense.
It's interesting how many people want to buy that rifle of yours and my rifle every time they shoot them. Like that's a theme.
I think 4 of the 5 tried to buy mine,
Yes.
and I know that the same dude were trying to buy yours.
Yes. And
it's like, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I just saying I'm sure we'll get into like rifle issues and what we saw, but they're also the 2 cheapest rifles out there.
Well, we'll get it. Let's just jump into that. We had our first inaugural Shoot to Hunt University paid class, and we're trying to be as transparent as possible. So what, you being the instructor on that, what did you see that went well and what didn't go well?
Well, I'll nitpick. I don't like the word instructor. Teacher or coach works for me because instructors stand with a PowerPoint and tell you what to do, and
What
that's
about
part of the problem. We need coaches in shooting.
what about stock fucker upper?
You mean world class gun fix?
Okay, so you were the leader of the pack, the
What?
coach.
Yeah,
What?
oh my God, that's a bad thing.
What did you see? Like this ain't your first rodeo. What? So a lot of stuff I'm sure you expected, but what did you see in this group?
I would say they were solidly when they showed up. They were solidly above average for hunters. And when I say that, I mean like solidly, probably above average for rock sliders. And I don't mean that negatively. I just mean that most hunters I wouldn't allow around me with a loaded gun. These guys were generally okay. I mean, the first thing we did was a couple of like pre-tests or standards to see where they're at. And, we're looking for gun handling, loading, things that are kind of intangible, right? And lo and behold, we had an ND right off the bat. No,
I'd say
everything
AD.
was safe. It's on video. What's up?
AD.
It was an AD. You are correct. So I was coming from the side. The guy loaded the rifle, pointed in. Everything was great.
For those of you listening, AD is accidental discharge. ND is what?
And ND is negligent.
Negligent discharge. Yeah.
And this is, one could say it's both, right? So, however, so it looked like he curled his fingers in almost a fist when he lowered the hammer, or lowered the bolt, excuse me, and the gun banged. It went off. And I looked and I go, okay, don't worry about it. And he's starting to freak out. I'm like, we're good. So we come back, we had him loaded again, and this time like he loads it really slow, and like fingers out, everything. What did he do? Everything was good. It chambered fine, and I'm like, okay. And then he moved the gun and it fired. Like he just pushed the gun forward. And we pulled the gun off and I said, your trigger's loose, man. And basically there's a thread on Rockslide and dudes are saying it's not true. And this goes into what I write and say is because I see this all day, every day. I mean, 4 or 5 days a week, this is what I'm doing and seeing is when you pull that trigger off to replace the trigger spring or to replace a barrel like people do, they're just tightening it down. And that's not how that trigger is designed. Tika Loctites them generally and torques the holy hell out of them. And that's all it was. It was a loose trigger attachment screw, which is not uncommon. If I got 20 Tikas where they replaced the trigger in 500 rounds, 2 or 3 of them will start dropping the hammer when you close the bolt.
Here, we actually did a little bit of testing for him here, and we went through different Loctite, and we actually ended up on paint pen was the most secure holding option for that trigger bolt. So here at now we paint pen those triggers because we put a revised trigger spring in all of them that we work on.
Sure. So there's another issue with the revised trigger spring I'll bring up, but the paint pen thing, like I've been showing pictures of paint pens and fingernail polish for years on screws, ring screws, base screws, action screws. And people ask me, and I'm like, well, because it holds better. It breaks easily, but it holds better. You need like Loctite needs no air, correct? Like it's got to be completely air free to lock up. Am I correct in that? What's that?
Anaerobic is the term.
Oh, anaerobic, yeah. Paint pens don't care, man. Like paint pens and fingernail polish, it doesn't care. And it's what I like about them is they lock from vibration, but when you want to turn them, you just pop them 1/8 of a turn and it all breaks loose. And it's pretty easy to clean up. But side note, it's interesting what you guys found the same thing.
Yeah, they went through red, blue, and some other shit because we had this issue happen to a customer of ours, and he brought the Tika back in the retail store, and he says, I got something going on with this trigger, can't figure it out. Well, we don't like to make mistakes like that, and so we try to figure out exactly what was going to hold the best. And yeah, same thing you're using.
Yep, And that's what, I guess that's probably what's hard to grasp is when you're talking people have all their own experiences, and it's hard to understand when somebody's got enough experience, and I mean data sets where these things are built. So when I like carve a fore end out with a pocket knife, it's because the gun isn't shooting, probably because I've had 150 of these things do this. Um, or glue them with paint pens. It's the same reason, right? Like much like you guys, once I have an issue, I want to figure out how to get rid of that issue and never have it again. Right off the bat. I never want to see that issue. So if you're listening and you ever had that spring replaced, take your trigger out, degrease it. I would do the same thing you did, paint pen or nail polish, and don't be shy with it. I mean, you don't need to dip it in it, but get it on the screw and torque it down. I don't know what you guys are torquing, and I think Tika does 55 inch pounds. I just make it tight like a tiger.
What is your preferred brand of nail polish form?
I like Sinful Colors.
Sinful. There's a theme with old Formalicious. He always has the most obnoxious color of whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah. Or obnoxious looking stock or whatever, you know.
But you'll look at his paint pens, and I don't know if he does it on purpose or just so he can see it, but it's like fucking fuchsia or purple, or it's a sparkly fucking whatever turquoise. It's just always fucking apparent and obnoxious. It's good stuff.
But before the listeners, on a serious note, what is the main, like, there's obviously various types of paint, which I imagine means various type of paint pens. So what are you, when you're shopping for a form paint pen in the truck there, what are you looking for?
So the stuff I usually find is this one. It's what is this? It's just a paint pen, paint marker.
What color is it?
Marks on both surfaces.
Fuchsia.
I don't know if I've painted this.
Do you know what color it is?
It's neon green. This one's neon green.
I like that color.
So
and I got pink. I got a really hot pink pen up here.
So if the guys jump on Amazon or they go to the fucking local hobby store or whatever paint pen might be there.
Usually if you just put paint pen, it's fine.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, just stealing your wife or your girlfriend, fingernail polish. Go away.
Okay. You're also using these to mark various bolts across the rifle to check.
That's right.
It's not a torque seal. It's just a check basically to see if something's rotated.
Yeah. So degrease, Loctite them. Or degrease, apply thread locker. I use paint pens or fingernail polish mostly. I use blue Loctite too, but then torque them, and then you put a line, a witness mark. So you can just look at the gun and go, oh, it's the screw's loosened. Now I will say I have in a lot of more rounds than most people can fathom, unless they're a high-end competitor shooting 100,000 rounds a year. I have never seen a rifle or a gun, how we assemble them, ever have a screw come loose. That's the reason we do it that way. I have seen it with blue Loctite.
Mm-hmm.
And probably because it wasn't completely sealed off, like from anaerobic or whatever. But I still look at them, right? And you got these guys who are like, oh, we check action screws by, I put the wrench to it and make sure it's still tight every season or every whatever. And I'm like, why? Why not just set it where it doesn't come loose, and it's visually totally obvious if it does with a paint pen or a witness mark.
Mm-hmm. Another question that is brought up, when you take a rifle apart for some reason, do you take all of that shit off, or do you just fucking put another application over the top of the previous paint pen marks?
You're talking about after I've already degreased it and all that?
Yeah, so you've already put it together once and you put the paint pen on it, you take it apart, and then do you just put it right over the top of it and slap it back in there?
Dude, yeah, I get Q-tips and napkins, use alcohol or brake cleaner, wipe them off, and then put it right over top.
Yeah, so you're not getting the little crusty shit out of it. You're just putting it back on there.
Leave some buildup on there.
I just wanted to make that apparent.
Some might think it holds tighter with that little extra buildup.
I think it does.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. Like it's like you watch females painting their fingernails and stuff, and as a teenager or whatever, they don't get it all off, and so they put another layer over it, and it becomes like granite, and they can't get it off later. Like that's the other thing. If you think about how fingernail polish is used, that stuff's designed to stay, but it chips off.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So yeah, so we
there's
had
a bunch of threads.
So for failures, we had shit coming loose. We had barrel contact in some situations. I think we even had a rifle failure.
We had a rifle failure. We had a scope failure.
Yeah, rifle failure, scope
But yeah,
failure.
we had so we had the trigger come loose. We had stock contact with barrel channels. We had some severe feeding issues with one rifle. We had obviously consistent bolt bind with the one Remington base gun that was there. We had the scope failure, so a loophole totally failed. And all of these rifles, I mean, this kind of goes back to the beginning, but all of them were zeroed per the shooters right before the course. Most of them had pictures of their groups, and everybody would say they were zeroed. And when we did the pre-test, one of the things you get to see is kind of a zero, and that's an interesting thing when people talk about their hit rates. And we kind of polled everybody, and everybody said basically they were comfortable on a deer to at least 400, if not one. I think he said 250 because he had never shot long range, but to 400, and most were in the 600-yard range. And yet, when we shot the shoot to hunt target with the MOA circles, so we can put it in a WES, everyone would have missed a deer somewhere between 100 and 200 yards, a deer's chest, with what they showed up with.
So none of them.
Nobody
were
was
zero. Yeah, I was just gonna say nobody was.
Oh, no! When I say truly zero, they were 2 MOA off. Everybody. Now, one was clearly a scope failure because we found out the next day it was. The rest of them were just various states of. No, there was one that was only about probably 3/4 minute off, so 0.2 mil.
When you say
But-
scope failure, what is telling you that was a scope failure?
So he had everything assembled pretty well correctly. I mean, he used Loctite, all that good stuff. It was zeroed right before he came to class. He had pictures. Comes to the class, it's I think about 2 MOA low. It was off, 2 MOA high, 2 MOA low. We re-zero it the next day. He's shooting, and as he's shooting, it's just constantly moving. And his group sizes are, he was shooting like high round count shot groups before he came to the course of a minute or less, and his group size are 2 MOA. We get it zeroed up, and as we go, we get it zeroed at the end of day one. That right at dark, he takes pictures of it. It's all good. Drives to the ranch house, which is a mile away or whatever it is. Drives back a couple of miles. Nothing crazy on the road, just normal gravel ranch road with a couple of little creek crossings. Rifle's in a case, or he's holding it, I can't remember. And it's 2 MOA high, or almost 2.5 MOA high. And we just kept having that. We swapped scopes, and that went away. All of it went away.
We swapped to a known drop test scope that has passed.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was the prototype Maven RS 1.2 that he had, or that he got, that we swapped it to. And again, this isn't bashing, right? You guys saw me pull a $4,000 March off and put a loophole on a rifle. But this isn't bashing loophole. It's just, this is what happens. This is what, like, as we do more classes, we're just going to continually see this. You're going to see these same issues pop up. And if people will suspend disbelief and just look at it as data, that's what shows up. I mean, one of the biggest things that we're getting is we tell people have a zeroed rifle. We check them when they get there with statistically relevant shot groups. And then we're constantly shooting on targets where it's obvious if you're zero shifts, right? Everybody kind of said it, but I don't think people realize how many 10-round groups we're shooting in this course.
Yeah, I don't think they.
Well,
do.
it was 600 rounds in 3 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And talking to that shooter, he has said his zero wanders a lot, so he kind of knew it in the back of his head.
Enhance your shooting experience with STOCKY'S stocks. Are you tired of struggling with mediocre rifle stocks that hinder your performance? Imagine having a high-quality rifle stock that not only enhances your accuracy, but also provides superior strength and a lightweight build. Stocky Stocks offers a wide range of premium rifle stocks manufactured with hand layup carbon fiber construction, a patented carbon fiber AccuBlock, and multiple finish options. Whether you're a long-range shooter or a hunting enthusiast, our stocks are perfect for you. Experience unmatched precision and durability with Stocky Stocks. We provide stock installation instructions, technical support, and guidance to help you choose the right stock for your rifle. Upgrade your shooting game today with Stocky Stocks.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, it's not uncommon. It's not this wild thing that never happens. It happens constantly. So, I mean, that's why you assemble the rifle a certain way. You know, before I step out with a rifle, if it's mine, not apparently an eval rifle, I fixed all this right off the bat. Right, the rifle comes apart. I check assemblage. I degrease everything.
He just said assemblage.
Loctite or assemblage. That's right. Loctite everything. Torque the hell out of it. And when I say torque the hell, I mean appropriately. The scope, all of it. Everything is known, right? When it comes to my stuff, I'm not using stuff that's in question. The stock has, the gap through the barrel. I mean, that's one of the most common issues with rifles is barrel contact. I could almost take my cat and shove it through the gap. Right. And so when I go out with my rifles, a brand new rifle that I get, nothing is ever wrong. The gun zeroes correctly and it's done. You know, and a lot of guys are chasing these problems, load work up and rifle range strips and all of this, trying to get ready to be able to shoot 3 or 4 or 5 or 600 yards. And I get a rifle, I shoot 10 or 15 rounds at 100. I shoot 10 or 15 rounds at 900 or 1,000, and I'm done. I can go kill stuff with it.
Yeah. And you're not gentle. You're not gentle to things. It's like the 223 that I have, that when you set the parallax or the focus, reticle focus for Tanya, that thing has never been re-zeroed and it has at least 5,000 rounds on it. And you both can attest that it was still driving tacks all through the course. And I dropped it 2 more times.
Well, I mean, oh yeah, guys were shooting about 1 minute for 20 shot groups with it. And you got frustrated in a position and threw it.
Yeah.
All I look over and see is the rifle being launched like 4 feet in the air in front of the line.
Yeah, and then we went out to 450 and it banged 2 little.
And it was still zeroed.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that was the big rifle issues. I mean, just the common stuff, you know, the one shooter who was pretty solid, but he's running a Zermet. Is it a Zermet or Zermat? I can't remember. Zermet. Yeah, I mean, people want to act like this doesn't exist, but he had to modify how he held the bolt and put his thumb on the back of the bolt shroud, and could not run the bolt for repeat shots like everyone else could, because if he did, it bound up at the back and he couldn't drive it forward. You know, so they're just real issues when you start functionally shooting rifles.
There was nobody that I witnessed, maybe you did because you probably paid more attention, that shot sub-minute 10-shot group.
Oh, that's the other fallacy is no. So at the end, we had a couple of dudes do it with my rifle, and I think one with yours. But in the beginning, when everybody showed up, and again, Jake, you'll see this more and more as you go. These guys are pretty well above average of like serious hunters is where I would put them. And I think the smallest initial 10-round group on the pre-test thing was the group size itself was 2.5 minutes. And that's just no time. Go prone, shoot a shot, stand up, stretch, go prone, shoot a shot. So this whole thing of like, oh, my gun is 1 MOA or half MOA or 3/4 MOA, it's all nonsense. The gun may be, but you are a system, and it's like this. Your precision of the gun is the size target that you can consistently and on demand hit with that gun. So shooting a half MOA group that's an inch from the aiming point is not a half MOA group. That is a 2 MOA rifle system. And just saying, oh, it's me, doesn't change that fact. So if your gun is a 1 MOA gun, that means it should mean high probability, 95% of your shots when you shoot that will fall into a 1 MOA target, not in a 1 MOA circle. So, no, from prone, perfect position, untimed, you're going to see it. Just 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes is actually pretty good. 2.5 to 3 minutes is where serious dudes are.
I like how you made the target to kind of bear that out, the shoot to hunt target.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a variation. We've been doing this with like hand drawn targets and bullseyes for years. 20 years, but the Riflecraft target is diamonds. It works similar, but it's designed for PRS. It makes sense what they're doing. And, we've been trying to get a target made for a decade plus to do this for hunting for the West. And the cool thing is, like, it doesn't matter what size group your gun shoots, it matters where it hits in relation to center. So we can instantly take the worst shot from your group and put it in the Wes and say, look, this is the size target you'll hit, and this is your hit range, your hit rate.
Those targets will be for sale very soon on Shoot to Hunt. It'll run the same pricing as our unknown munitions low development target, so you're going to get 25 for $10. But like I said, we were finalizing our testing at this class, and now that everything is approved, we will go to full print on those and bring in 10,000 or so and start moving on those with a little video from Forum on how to use it.
And a target's a target, but what is this actually measuring for you? Can you tell them about that for them?
Yeah, so it's just it's a ring target in 1 MOA rings, starting from the center out to 8 MOA. In each corner, it's got an 1.5 inch square box with a very thin 1.5 inch circle inside of it, and then a 1 inch red box, right? So it's easy to aim at. You can aim at the boxes and the center circle. You can aim at it with a 4x thick duplex reticle scope, and see it clearly. And it's very easy to aim at it with a 32x scope, and you have little small center diamonds. So basically, like you wanted the thin 1.5 inch circle inside of the squares. The squares are really good for getting a good zero. They also tell you a general group size. For you can walk up and see, when you walk up to the target, you see that all your 10 rounds are in the 1.5 inch circle. You're done.
Yes, that was
so the outside. Yeah, the outside. That's what it does, right? When you look at it, it's a target. Like you said, a target's a target. What it is a target modified for a purpose. And so the zero targets, the 4 boxes on the outside, are easy to aim at. They're consistent, and they tell you information about your group size, like acceptability. If you walk up and all 10 or 20 rounds are in the box, okay, go, you're done. The center target is for telling you your MOA group size. So there's a couple of drills. Like, one of the best things is to take 10 rounds, but you have to break the position you could do it this way. You could lay down with a zeroed gun and just shoot 10 rounds at whatever speed you want. No time limit. Then take another target, shoot 10 rounds, but start holding the gun and go into prone for each of those 10 rounds. Set that target to the side. Then do the start standing and go to prone, but set a timer on it, like 10 seconds. And go prone and do that 10 times. And then look at the difference, right? Like, your group is more than likely 10 in a row with no time is going to be smaller, but it probably almost will never be, the center of those 10 shots will never be, for most people, the center of the 10 break and build, or build and break positions, going from standing to prone untimed, which will not be the center of the timed 10 rounds. And that's simply due to positional shift. We're not straight neutral behind the gun. The goal is to get them all to be the same. Now, the mean point of impact to be the same. Like the 223, my 223, one guy did 20 shots in like 1.25 inches. I did 210 back to back at like sub 0.7 with it. So if I just lay down, it's a 1 MOA gun on the target and shoot 10 shots. When I break and build, it's a 1 MOA. Nothing changes there. when I do the 10 seconds per shot to build that position from standing, it opens up to about a minute and a half. So my group size opens up because I have to compromise a bit on my wobble zone at speed, but the center doesn't change. And that's what we're trying to get. So it's a measurement target and a test target to see where you're at and give you information. And what you see is when we do the start standing and go to prone and fire a shot in 10 seconds, which is a complete miss if you don't get the shot off, by the way. So you zero the whole thing. So open your group up to 10 plus inches. That ability, like that group size, is what we consistently see with people on animals in unhurried shots. So in other words, their worst one on the range with the time is what you see about the best people will do on animals when they have 20 minutes to dry fire on the animal.
What I saw at the class,
Go ahead.
what I saw at the class is that all 5 students were generally enjoying themselves the whole fucking time. Now, despite the physical exertion, all the rounds fired and whatnot, as I was talking to guys here and there, they all wanted to stay. The freaking forum has them out there till 9 p.m. fucking shooting, coming back for 9 p.m. dinner. And I'm like, damn, that's late for dinner, right?
Yeah.
And one guy told me, he's like, I'll stay out there till 3 a.m. shooting like this.
Then he takes them till midnight freaking classes.
Yes. And then they come back at dinner and they're in the freaking classroom and he's in there drilling fucking data into them at night so that they sleep on it and it turns into long-term memory. And I hear then some people's getting yelled at. Some people get berated, and they fucking enjoyed they enjoyed every minute of it. They did.
The oldest guy, his name's Todd.
Yeah.
I asked him. I rode back with him. He got in my truck to come back.
Okay.
And I asked both him. It was the 2 oldest guys actually, and I said, "All right, we got to have tell me what you liked and tell me your critiques."
Yeah.
And Todd, it's totally like trivial. His critique was, well, you guys really need an emergency contact so somebody in my family can get a hold of it. And I said, well, that's not much of a critique. And and Todd just looked at me and said, this was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
He said, I was measured the whole time. He said, I was yelled at a little bit. And he goes, but I needed it. I needed to be yelled at.
He got yelled at the fucking most the whole time. Hey, so I don't know if I told you this before, but at the end at Todd, when you were doing the high angle stuff with him and he was getting all frustrated down there, and he came back up and I was talking to him and I watched him just like you do it. And I said, dude, just stay in the scope and spot. It was like as soon as he pulled the trigger, he wanted to get out of the rifle. I said, stay in the scope, spot your impact. And then I just said, slow, because there's a bunch of shit you got to do after that. So just stay in it. Even if it's fucking slow, dude, just go through the fucking process. But anyways, he happened to be the one that got yelled at the most, but he fucking loved it.
He re-signed up to come back next year.
He signed up on the fucking, before I left there, he signed up to come back for 0. So he wants to get beat up some more.
Well, he said he likes measurables. He said he goes, I was measured from day one. He goes, so I know I'm getting better. I don't need anybody here to tell me. He goes, I see it firsthand, which is cool.
Which is great. So that was my big point is that, despite everything that's going on during the class or the long hours or the sun or the shooting or whatever the situation or the 9 p.m. dinners, the fucking guys loved it. And it was a great experience.
If you're thin-skinned, toughen up a little.
Yeah, there's a lot of cussing.
Yes.
There may be some yelling. There may be some people that get angry.
There's going to be some yelling. But it's all to make you...
Well, and the people are going to hear that and think it's like some drill sergeant nonsense. It's good natured.
Yeah.
Right. It's not. I'm not yelling at you, cursing at you.
No.
If the 15th time that you're not racking the bolt and resetting to take another shot, I'm going to figure out a way to get you to do it. And what I told this group, and you guys saw it when we were doing the log station, was like they liked violence. Violence is what works on them.
I agree.
If you're smart and you just like, oh, okay, I'll fix that. You go drill it and dry fire it and fix it. Man, it's always, it's a good time. We're laughing, right? But it's if, as I told him, I love all you guys, but I care more about that you leave with skill than whether you like me. And if I've got to berate you if I have to make fun of you, berate you, threaten you with violence to go run up and down the hill. I don't know. None of this is what happens, right? Like, this isn't like being in the army or any of this nonsense, but people respond differently, and you have to find what they respond to, especially when they start getting in their head and like cocooning up and falling apart, actually.
What I noticed from you over the last couple of years is you find what makes that person tick and how he learns, and you're really quick at doing that and good. Sometimes it's berating, sometimes it's just walking them through it, sometimes it's a silent treatment, but you figure out a way to talk to them.
All right. You guys have talked enough. Now it's my turn.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, good. So I did question some guys, asking for feedback and whatnot. And one of the overwhelming responses, and it's not because we're trying to sell shit, was don't buy anything until you get to class. So a lot of these guys came in with a whole variety.
This isn't a sales pitch either.
I'm not trying.
Just the truth.
This was direct feedback from the students. Basically, we're teaching you how to shoot a certain way, and we've kind of figured out how to do it, and we kind of got the best tools to do it. So, bring what you want to class. But so overwhelming majority of these guys said don't buy anything before class. The jellyfish and the mullinator did really well. The jellyfish is a new rear bag from Shoot to Hunt. Those will be, when is this going to come out, Ryan? Not this week, probably the week after. So these, by the time you guys hear this, the jellyfish will be on the Shoot to Hunt website. Jellyfish is a 3-ounce kind of rectangular half-filled pillow bag. Gives you a lot of, well, I would ask for him to explain it, but that'd be like 10 more minutes. So let me... Basically, you want a formless bag so that you can form it, so that you can push it to your will, manipulate it to your will, rather than have a completely full bag that has to kind of be, in its position, in its form, like the mullinator. The jellyfish allows you to manipulate it in any way that you see fit. So it worked really well as a rear bag. Mullinator was used mostly as a front bag for this, let's call it positional shooting class. I love the mullinator for a rear bag. These guys were putting the fore end of the rifle on the top of their backpack, and it worked great. So because this, shooting course / bear hunting went so well, we are going to do this again with Absaroka Beartooth Outfitters. So big shout out to ABO. They took care of the guys. They took care of us. Food was phenomenal. You get 3 square meals a day. Everybody had their own room to stay in. Not a tent and shit like that, but it went really well. Those guys took real good care of us. We're going to do it again next year. There will only be, so we'll start selling it very soon. By the time you guys hear this, there will only be 6 spots allowed. They're still actually hunting bears. Today is their last day of hunting. We may extend the hunting to 4 days instead of 3, but they did 2 out of the 5 guys killed bears on day 1.
Right.
They got rained out pretty good yesterday. Today's looking beautiful weather, so hopefully the rest of the guys get their bears.
We're going to have to talk about, and I know, Form, you can expand it. Because you need a little more time on your end.
So maybe it's going to have to be 4 and 4.
Yeah. The biggest thing, that the issue with the 3-day is we're not, say if the 5-day is the complete program. It's not the complete, but it's a pretty solid one. We're not cramming 5 days into 3. What you're really getting is the first 3 days, with a mix of the 4th day, because the first 2 days have to be what they are. There's no point in going out and shooting in the mountains and winds and canyons when you're still shooting a 3 MOA group because you're changing positions. So the issue is, the low point of a 5-day course is day 3, night 3. And what I mean by that is that's the slump of shooters, because they're just inundated. They're tired. Everything has changed. They've got so much new information. And then what you see, and Ryan, I'm sure you could attest to this, but call me out if not, but morning 4, it's like they're 50% better than they were the night of night 3, afternoon 3. By the end of day 4, they're like 80 to 90% of where they're going to be, and they're really solid. And all those silly issues that, you're getting like called out for are gone by the end of day 4. And then day 5 is like just practice. And that's like the holy crap. I can do this anywhere. I can do this on any messed up terrain. If somebody's holding my belt so I don't fall off a cliff, that's what it is. So, it's a good and bad. 3 days certainly got them, massively improved. Massively improved. But you feel a little bit bad because we know that's kind of the slump of shooting.
Yes. And my experience with that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is I just went through 2 days of basically a flat range to where I'm going to learn all what I put together over those 2 days, a new environment on the third. And I'm trying to put all the shit that I was just taught in 2 days into that third days. And I look like a big bag of shit. And then,
Yeah, that's the slump.
yeah, the fourth day is when I've had a time to fucking think and work all through it. And then I start to put it all together. So I get it.
Yeah, and what was interesting is you noticed the issues they were having, the small inconsistencies and whatnot, like all the way until later afternoon, say 5 or 6 p.m. on day 3. Did you notice when we said, okay, we're done, we got to check zero, we got to go over here and we got to true with your hunting ammo, all of it went away.
Yeah. There was far less of forum telling people what they were fucking up.
Yeah, I don't think I had to say, I think on the truing when we're shooting out at, one of them was shooting at 1,040 with a great wind call, by the way, in MOA. I don't think I had to say, if I don't say so myself, I don't think I had to say anything to anyone about their gun handling, loading, nothing. Like it was, and you just see that. It's like we had like a 20-minute break of zeroing rifles and breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start thinking about something else. They go true it out, and everybody's going, holy smokes.
What if they were there like at noon on Sunday to go through your little hell 12 hours? And then they have
that would help for sure.
It would be like,
that would help.
3 3/4 of a day.
Yeah, that would certainly help.
Well, we'll figure out the details anyway.
There's also an interesting thing that could potentially be done is like, say the first hunting day, if they come back for lunch, you shoot for like an hour during their lunch break.
Or mornings are stupid anyway.
Get them real tuned up and go.
We just keep training in the mornings.
That would work.
I know how you love to get up at 7. Like me too.
Oh, I'll do it though.
Oh, I know you'll do it, but you don't love it like I don't love it.
No, right. It sucks.
So for the 0 to 600 classes, 2024 is full. We have a few spots left, 0 to 600 in 2025. And there are spots left in the 600 to 1,000 course, but you have to take the 0 to 6 first, or you have to have come to the bear hunt first.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you're interested in signing up for one of those classes, don't wait.
Yeah. And we're going to start a thread on Rockslide with the students. I reached out to a couple already, and so they can actually give you their firsthand experience unbiased, because we think it's awesome. I know it's awesome. Obviously, Forum thinks it's awesome. Jake's going through in June, so he can tell you how awesome it is in June.
I already blew the test out of the water. I'm done.
Oh my! Tell him exactly what he scored that 6. What that meant? Can you real quick for him?
Oh, the 6 out of 20 on the hunting rifle drill?
Yeah.
Well,
give it to him straight.
He already gave you the feedback. He said, "You know what, Jake?" He said, "You did way better than I thought you would." I told him I should be first place anyway because I'm the only one that used a real. I shot a 300 rum. I'm the only one that used a real rifle for the drill, not a little BB gun.
You got a real rifle kill.
You got a 6.
I don't care. I don't care, man.
6 out of 20. So that,
and comparatively, how was that? Comparatively,
that is what I would say. That's right in the middle between 4 and 5 or 6 is what hunters that shoot and consider themselves serious generally score.
There you go.
Now, the shooting straight thing is your shooting was the problem. Like your mechanics are not where they should be. But, and I told you this, the reason you can make that a 12 to 15 pretty quick because you're aggressive on the gun. So once you decide to get the fucking pack off, the pack is off. You're not futzing around. You're not playing with shit. And that's kind of the hallmark of like when we're talking about shooting skill is not wild out of control, but decisive and get it off now and make your shots, right? So somebody being aggressive as a shooter, I would way rather have a controlled aggression. And then we teach you how to hit at that aggression level or to chill a little bit and hit more than somebody that's like really deliberate, but they're slow as hell and timid. So Yeah, I mean it's better than it's at a top end of average for hunters that actually hunt.
All I keep hearing is just that I'm the best. That's all I keep
Holy
hearing.
shit, dude. I'll even give you a point or two because of your toe, but we'll find out in June.
Yeah, and I did do this
We'll
shit
see in
with fucking full on gout, up and down off the ground. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
But a question on you though, because this comes up and we keep saying this. So even on the untimed portions where you're shooting prone, so the prone position at a 2 MOA circle at 100 yards, how many did you hit out of 5 shots?
Nothing. I didn't get the prone. I was pulling the rifle I had a nice group on the right side of the fucking circle.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pulling the rifle right.
Yep.
Of course, I will say this. So I've never once in my whole fucking life shot off a backpack. And I haven't shot a single round of ammunition this year. That's the truth.
Yeah.
So
no, it's
did it right with those two things considered.
On that drill with a whole lot of shooters. The most commonly missed position is standing offhand, and right behind it, and I mean right behind it, is prone.
It's prone, yeah.
Which is bizarre.
And it's a 2 MOA circle.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so I'm shooting an 8-pound, 300 round rifle with a 215 at 3100. I mean, it's a fucking monster. But I just realized that I'm definitely used to loading a bipod with my shoulder and having not. I guess my shoot. I don't know how to shoot without loading, without pushing my shoulder into the rifle. So off the back thing was kind of new for me. So definitely need some practice.
No, we have solutions.
Yeah.
On the rock stock, this was the first group of people that we have witnessed that we had no influence on, and the rock stock was a hit, if I do say so myself.
Yes. Yes, it was.
I mean, considering dudes were trying to buy rifles just to get the rock stock.
Yeah, I ended up we ended up not selling all the rifles I brought, but all the fucking rock stocks those were all gone.
Yes, they were all gone.
Yes. And that actually brings up a good point. So we have a new dealer in Canada for those Canadians seeking out a rock stock. Yes, we can ship directly to you, but you can also go to Go Big Tactical is our new main Canadian dealer. They will be carrying rock stocks, pro brakes, our lines of scope rings, including the UMTika rings, and actions, Vespers, and hammerheads. So go to gobigtactical.com if you're up in Canada. Message them, email them, tell them what you need from Unknown, and they'll take care of you. That's including rock stocks.
Anything we missed on what you wanted to cover for them on the... Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Anything more on the rock stock?
No, I was just going to say the rock stock, because people were, how is it from offhand and standing and all these positions? And it was specifically designed to be as good as possible from all positions, including offhand.
Yeah,
there's no issue in multi-position. Not one person has an issue with the toe line under the stock being parallel. That everybody commented that thing just stays on target from all the positions. So
when they were shooting offhand, I was specifically watching everybody with a rock stock, and there was no fighting, no fighting to get, proper eye relief. There was no fighting it in your shoulder. So that's all just nonsense, really.
Nonsense.
There will be a video that comes out on this relatively quickly. He's got to finish up a video for the haha event, but we're going to push him on this to get it out pretty quick so you guys can, kind of reference all the shit that we're saying with video of actually what happened.
Foreman partying, what'd we miss? Anything else you want to add about the class?
No, the biggest thing is maybe Jake, because he's kind of on the outside on this one. I don't think we pushed 223 as hunting guns, like pushed it. We talked about how they were fine, but only one dude chose to not use his 223 practice rifle when he came. 4 out of 5 were not going to use a 223 hunting. Only one dude chose to use his non-223, and that's because he had an MOA scope on it. I think it was because we didn't have. Excuse me, it wasn't that he didn't have TMKs. He had just straight like hollow point match bullet.
And at the
end,
he
had TMKs, he would have chosen to take the 223 as well.
And I am not the biggest 223 fan, but by the end of every class I've been to, everybody is either trying to buy 223s, and we're all shooting 223s, and a couple 6 Creedmoors, but predominantly 223s.
Well, it's affordable to shoot as a practice gun.
Yes.
And if you do find that wild hair up your ass to kill something with a 223. So, a bear is a good opportunity in this situation.
One was just killed, a Kodiak bear. Was it a Kodiak bear? What was it? Just shot on rock slide on a 223.
Yeah, it's a coastal brown bear.
He was
coastal
shot
brown bear.
with a 223.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, not just the 223. They killed it with Full Metal Jacket.
Well, I should always preface this shit too. So I'm not going to be the one to go out and shoot, and hunt with a 223, but shooting it for the course allows you to be very well practiced. Shoot a lot of rounds without shooting fatigue. But anyways, what I want to say is that we're not there to push a 223 for a fucking hunting round. That's not the purpose.
Are we?
If you choose to, that's your thing. But I still personally have not seen anything die from a 223 77 TMK. I mean, I guess I'll change my mind as the future goes, but I don't know. I just want to say that because I'm not gonna fucking do it, is what I'm saying. So
the bear killed with a.
So he says that, Ryan. He's killing an elk this year with a 223.
He may have.
Already talked to Cameron.
He may have a 308.
Hey, if I shoot the biggest bear, if I shoot the biggest bear at camp, then it is what it is.
So we have a rock, and people are gonna say, "Well, I ain't coming." But anyways, we have a rock slide bear rifle with the matching brass, made by Peterson Brass. We have a 308. It's gonna be. I'm supposing it's gonna be a Tika.
Oh yeah,
308.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
with a rock stock.
Yeah.
This is gonna be the official rock slide bear hunting gun. The rules are: if you shoot the biggest bear and the smallest bear,
it's gonna be ugly as fuck.
Yep. It's gonna be so the rule is you come to, or you get invited, you come. If you shoot the biggest bear or you shoot the smallest bear, you flip a coin. And if you lose, some would say win, but I would say if you lose, you have to hunt with that fucking 308 all that year.
Peterson's made us custom fucking brass. It says 308 rock, and then it says bear camp on the head stamp. I think we're going to load 185 juggernauts, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they may be a little fat. I think form's right, unfortunately. So probably the
178 ELDX.
Something a little lighter. God, I do not want.
Anyways, if you end up with the rifle, that means any hunting you do for the rest of that year with proof you have to use that rifle.
19-inch barrel. That's what we decided on. Just to be
19-inch,
weird.
okay, 19-inch barrel.
Yeah, so it's odd. And if you get caught or bullshit and do not hunt everything that fall with it, you don't come back to bear camp.
No, you're never coming back to bear camp.
So Form thinks
Form
thinks this is great. I think this is like fucking cruel and unusual punishment. Like this is ridiculous.
It's great.
But
he wants to win because it's free ammo. He wants to win because it's free ammo.
And the guy that gets it gets 500 rounds for practice and shit.
There you go.
So I will give a shout out to Unknown for building this fucking ugly ass rifle and Peterson for making the brass.
Yes.
I just fucking really hope I don't win.
Well, we know you're too picky and choosy shooting your fucking bear. Hey, if another 7.5 red walks out, you're gonna shoot him.
If he's
shooting it.
Honestly, if he's over 6 foot, I'll probably shoot him.
There you go.
If I have the opportunity, but I don't want to win. I'm going to say that right now. I don't.
That's funny shit.
All right. Is that all you got for him?
Well, I think so.
All right.
All right. Thanks for listening. If you need to get a hold of us at podcast@shoottohunt.com. The number 2, not the words. Thanks for listening.